Open Minds is an inclusive and progressive community-based organisation. Historically linked to the people and needs of Queenslanders, we're an industry leader that is committed to working alongside individuals whose needs are diverse and unique. By focusing on achievement, individual strengths and recovery, we provide a range of programs and tailored support services, ensuring that every person has the opportunity to live a life of choice, fulfilment, and participation. This is our vision. We are Open Minds. Our long and illustrious history dates back to 1912 and the creation of the Queensland Wattle Day League. At that time, the League consisted mainly of volunteers who collected and sold sprigs of wattle to raise money to establish an art scholarship. Sculptor Daphne Mayo was the first recipient of the Wattle Day Art Scholarship. The funds raised by the Wattle League enabled Daphne to undertake further study and training in London. Her most prominent works can still be seen in Brisbane at City Hall, the Tattersalls Club and the Queensland Women's Memorial in Anzac Square. Soon after, with the onset of the First World War, the League turned its attention to the plight of injured Australian soldiers who were returning to Brisbane suffering severe injuries from this global conflict. With few support services in place at that time, it became evident that a fund that could assist with the manufacture of artificial limbs was desperately required. It is here that the Wattle League first began to serve a community in need. With unwavering support from the people of Brisbane, the League and its dedicated volunteers continued to grow. Soon it was able to fund a specialised rehabilitation facility for injured soldiers at the Rosemount Military Hospital in Windsor. After the war, the League continued to raise money for the upkeep of the hospital by attracting donations via its familiar wattle stores located across Brisbane. Later, schools became central to this event, which significantly increased donations. The Great Depression in the 1930s and the continuation of the Second World War in the 1940s were devastating for Australia. The country was plunged into a deep economic recession. However, it was the disadvantaged and those without means who suffered the most. The elderly, the poor, and disabled soldiers faced unimaginable difficulties. The League continued to support those most in need throughout this bleak episode in Australia's history. The 1950s and 60s heralded optimistic stability and brought with it a sense of change in public attitude. Specialist services began to develop throughout Queensland, largely due to the advocacy of the disabled and their family members. Always a progressive and forward-thinking organisation, this shift in public attitude saw an expansion of services to include the running of a sheltered workshop, where walking aids were developed as a key product. Hundreds were manufactured over the years as we continued to assist those most in need, while also providing people with employable skills and a sense of belonging. Ahead of their time, the League saw employment as the best long-term solution to the difficulties faced by disabled members of the Queensland community. This same philosophy is with Open Minds today, as we continue to offer employment services for people living with a disability or mental illness. The 70s saw new opportunities for Open Minds in the form of government assistance. Programs which acknowledge the strengths of people with a disability and provide them with new skills and opportunities were established. While we continued to expand our sheltered workshops, we also opened a new activity therapy centre. Where the sheltered workshops were employment-focused, the Activity Therapy Centre had a stronger emphasis on social, recreational and therapy-based programs. The centre changed and developed throughout the 70s and 80s and later became its own small business known as Stuffit. Stuffit focused on becoming a processing and business centre on behalf of many Queensland companies. For those who could not sustain mainstream employment, we continued a program of training, education, basic living skills and recreation, which laid the foundations for much of what Open Minds does today. During the 80s, Open Minds continued to develop its expertise in the field of supporting clients to find and maintain work. This era also witnessed growth in new services such as specialist accommodation and housing support. This experience would later prove to be integral to Open Minds when the P300 program was announced. P300 aimed to assist with the transition of 300 people from Queensland psychiatric hospitals across to independent living. By the year 2000, Open Minds would become the largest P300 service provider in Queensland, and we continue this outstanding success today. 100 years on, and Open Minds is a robust organisation providing quality services to the Queensland community. It has contributed to significant artistic careers, provided wartime relief, and helped shape social policy. Our greatest legacy is the many lives that have changed for the better. At Open Minds, we have a people-centred approach that assists others in becoming more balanced, centred and positive. Distinguished through dedication, we perform with confidence and clarity to enable our clients to live a better day, a better week, and a better life. We make a difference for our people and our community by helping people to bring about personal change.
I have been with Open Minds for 8.5 years.
I have been with Open Minds ever since I have finished high school, which was in 2007.
Open Minds have been there to help me out with a whole lot of it, like phone calls like every couple of days, seeing if I'm alright. Like every time I go in for an appointment, like first thing they ask is how I'm going in my life. Like, instead of worrying about work side of things, they're really interested about your own personal life as well.
Because Open Minds, even taking me to my doctor's appointments and shopping, it still gets me out in the community.
Open Minds helps you to grow and supports you along the way.
Yeah, and I'll be lost without them.
Open Minds has allowed me to really start living my life instead of having to catch up.
We are Open Minds, and this is our story. It's a story about supporting people and the community. It's a story about helping people to live a complete and fulfilled life. It's a story of people just like you. Thank you for becoming a part of our story.